General Hospital's latest development sees Ross Cullum waking up in the ICU with amnesia, throwing a massive wrench into the cover-up surrounding Rocco Falconeri's involvement in his shooting. With Cullum's memory currently wiped, a tense waiting game has begun for the characters desperately trying to keep Rocco out of a federal prison. Okay, so I've been thinking about this non-stop, and my brain is just spinning in circles about the whole Ross Cullum amnesia twist. Like, basically everyone is terrified that he's going to remember Rocco pulled the trigger, but wait, let me back up. Is it actual amnesia, or is Cullum just playing 4D chess? I mean, this is the WSB director we're talking about. Actually, no. First, I should mention how we even got to this incredibly messy situation on Pier 55, because the context is literally everything right now. The sheer panic radiating from Lulu, Nathan, and honestly even Jason, wherever he is in that WSB black site, is entirely dependent on what exactly is going on inside Cullum's head right now. It's weird. Like, really weird. The whole thing is just weird. We have this highly trained WSB agent, a guy who meticulously planned to steal a cold fusion prototype, a guy who literally murdered Marco Rios in cold blood and framed Sonny Corinthos for it, and now he's just blank? I mean, not exactly blank, but kind of? He wakes up in the ICU, breathing tube and all, and his memory of the shooting is just gone. But then again, that doesn't explain why he was looking at Jocelyn Jacks with such intense suspicion when she was standing in his room. Okay, wait, let me back up to the Jocelyn thing. What was I saying? Oh right, Jocelyn in the ICU. Jocelyn was literally standing there, probably running through a million different ways to sabotage his IV or stall his recovery because she wanted to finish what Jason supposedly started. And then Cullum just opens his eyes. Jocelyn has to pivot so fast, claiming she recognized him from the news as Matthew, the caretaker. But if he has amnesia, does he even remember his alias? Does he remember Marco? Or maybe not. I don't know. If his memory loss is localized just to the trauma of the shooting, that is a very specific, very convenient soap opera trope. I think it was episode 12 or 13, somewhere around there, where they established that Cullum is basically a sociopathic mastermind. So the idea that he just conveniently forgot the identity of a shooter feels almost too easy. Actually, let's look at Rocco's psychology here, because this is what's really bugging me. Rocco is just a kid. He was hiding behind a wall on Pier 55. He watched Cullum knock Britt Westbourne unconscious. He watched Jason Morgan, a guy who is basically a mythological figure of violence in Port Charles, get disarmed. Cullum had an iron rod. He was going to bash Jason's head in. So Rocco picks up the dropped gun and shoots Cullum in the back. It's a completely reactive, trauma-induced response, and now Rocco is eaten up with guilt. He confessed to Lulu, and Nathan West immediately swooped in to orchestrate this massive, suffocating cover-up. Nathan told Lulu that if they do exactly as he asks, no one will ever know, but Nathan couldn't have predicted the amnesia angle. Here's what's bugging me. If Cullum has amnesia, it almost makes the anxiety worse, because it's a ticking time bomb. If Cullum was dead, the secret dies with him. If Cullum remembered, he would immediately leverage it. He would probably blackmail Lulu or Dante. Wait, Dante! Dante doesn't even know his own son is the shooter! Dante arrested Jason! Dante headbutted Jason. Okay, I know I just said the opposite, but hear me out. Dante being in the dark is actually the most tragic part of this entire storyline. Giovanni Palmieri comes to the PCPD to check on Dante because Dante is drowning in cases, and Dante is just completely oblivious to the fact that his youngest son is carrying the weight of an attempted murder charge. Anyway, the point is... Wait, what was the point? Oh, the amnesia. Right. The amnesia is a psychological torture device for Lulu and Nathan. Every single day Cullum is awake, they have to wonder, is today the day he remembers? It's like living with a sword dangling over your head, and Lulu is an investigative journalist. Her entire instinct is to dig for the truth, but right now, she has to actively suppress it. She tried to use her press credentials to get Cullum's status over the phone. Why? Because she needs to know what he knows. She needs to know if her son is going to be dragged away by the WSB. And speaking of the WSB, let's talk about Jason Morgan's sacrifice. Jason is currently rotting in some horrific WSB facility, completely off the grid. Jack Brennan literally told Carly that Jason's conditions are probably horrible and he might never see the light of day again. Jason threw his entire life away. He gave up his freedom, he gave up his escape plan with Britt, he gave up Danny, all to protect Rocco. But if Cullum's amnesia is real, Jason's sacrifice is currently holding the line. But if Cullum remembers, Jason's sacrifice was for nothing, because Cullum wouldn't just let Rocco get away with it. Cullum is a vindictive monster. Look at what he did to Marco Rios just for stealing Britt's medication. He stabbed him to death and left him on Alexis Davis's floor. Wait, let me go down a rabbit hole here. The Marco Rios murder, Cullum framed Sonny for it. Justine Turner, the ADA, is already interrogating Sonny, but Justine is suspicious. Justine doesn't buy that Jason shot Cullum. She told Sonny that Jason's actions just didn't add up. So, if Justine starts digging into the shooting, and she realizes the trajectory of the bullet shot in the back, from a specific angle behind a wall, she might realize Jason couldn't have fired the shot. Forensics exist! I mean, I know this is Port Charles, and the PCPD is basically just Dante running on coffee and trauma, but still, forensics! If Justine figures out Jason didn't do it, the cover-up starts unraveling from the legal side, entirely independent of Cullum's amnesia. But then again, that doesn't explain why Cullum wouldn't just lie. Let's say Cullum doesn't have amnesia. Let's say he remembers exactly what happened. Why would he pretend not to know? Maybe he realizes that if he accuses a teenager, it makes him look weak? No, that's stupid. Cullum doesn't care about looking weak, he cares about leverage. If he remembers Rocco shot him, he has ultimate leverage over Dante, Lulu, and Jason. He could force Jason to do whatever he wants. He could force Britt to finish the cold fusion prototype. So, the amnesia. It has to be real. Or maybe not. I don't know. The writers are playing with us. And then there's Danny and Charlotte. This is the part that literally keeps me up at night. Danny is devastated. He watched his dad get hauled away in a transport van, and Danny is smart. He knows his dad. He told Charlotte on the footbridge that he thinks someone else shot Ross Cullum. Danny is starting his own little teen detective investigation, and Charlotte, sweet, loyal, slightly terrifying Charlotte Cassadine, vowed to help him find the real shooter. Probably doesn't matter, but I noticed the sheer irony of this. Charlotte is trying to find the shooter to help Danny, completely unaware that the shooter is her own brother, Rocco. I mean, they share Dante as a father figure. They are family. If Charlotte and Danny uncover the truth, what does Danny do? Does he turn Rocco in to save his dad? Does he keep the secret and let his dad rot in a black site? The moral dilemma there is just, it's staggering. It's weird. Like, really weird. The whole thing is just weird. Because you have all these different factions operating in complete ignorance of each other. You have Jocelyn trying to kill Cullum. You have Lucas grieving Marco and vowing justice, not realizing the guy he just saved in Trauma 1 is Marco's killer. You have Danny and Charlotte investigating Rocco. You have Dante arresting Jason. And in the middle of this massive, tangled web of lies and trauma, you have Ross Cullum. Just lying there, with a blank slate, or a fake blank slate. I keep going back to Lucas. Lucas was in the OR. He was desperate. He kept shouting, "He's not dying on our watch!" Blood dripping on the floor. Lucas saved Cullum's life, and Cullum is the man who stabbed Marco. When Cullum's amnesia clears, if it clears and the truth comes out, the psychological damage to Lucas is going to be irreparable. He saved the man who slaughtered the man he loved. And what if Cullum, in his amnesiac state, actually seems nice? What if he doesn't remember being a sociopathic WSB director? What if he thinks he's just Matthew? That would be such a classic soap trope, like when Sonny thought he was Mike in Nixon Falls. But Cullum isn't Sonny. Cullum is a villain. You can't redeem a guy who just gutted Marco Rios. Actually, no. First I should mention Britt. Britt is the catalyst for all of this. Cullum was attacking Britt when Rocco shot him. Britt knows Rocco did it. Britt is currently mulling over Jocelyn's offer to sabotage Cullum's recovery. If Britt finds out Cullum has amnesia, does she view that as an opportunity or a threat? An amnesiac, Cullum can't force her to reverse engineer her Huntington's medication. An amnesiac, Cullum can't threaten her life. But an amnesiac Cullum is also unpredictable. What if his muscle memory kicks in? What if he instinctively knows how to be a lethal agent even if he doesn't remember his name? Okay, I know I just said the opposite, but hear me out. Maybe the amnesia is the only thing keeping Rocco alive. Think about it. If Cullum wakes up with his full faculties, his first thought is going to be retaliation. He is a man who operates on pure, unadulterated vengeance. He would send WSB agents after Rocco. He would destroy Lulu's life. He would make sure Jason suffers even more. The amnesia is a shield. It's a very fragile, temporary shield, but it's the only thing standing between Rocco Falconeri and total destruction. But how long can it last? Soap opera amnesia usually lasts exactly as long as the plot needs it to. It could be weeks, it could be months, but every single time someone walks into that ICU room, the tension is going to be unbearable. Imagine Lulu having to go in there. Imagine Lulu standing over the bed of the man who almost killed Jason, the man her son shot, and having to pretend she doesn't know anything. The micro-expressions, the panic. And what about Nathan? Nathan is playing a very dangerous game. He is a cop. He is actively covering up a crime. He swore Lulu to secrecy. He told Jason to stay quiet. Nathan is risking his entire career, his freedom, to protect a kid. If Cullum remembers, Nathan goes down for obstruction of justice, tampering with evidence, accessory after the fact. The stakes for Nathan are astronomical, and he's doing it all while trying to navigate his new relationship with Lulu and dealing with Maxie's resentment. It's too much. It's literally too much for one character to handle. Anyway, the point is... Wait, what was the point? The point is that Ross Cullum waking up with amnesia is the absolute worst-case scenario masquerading as a best-case scenario. It gives everyone a false sense of security while simultaneously driving them insane with paranoia. They can't relax. They can't move on. They are trapped in this liminal space of waiting for a monster to remember he's a monster. And when he does, the explosion is going to take out half of Port Charles. I mean, not exactly, but kind of. The fallout will be massive. Jason's fate, Rocco's future, Lulu's sanity, Dante's career, Danny's heartbreak, it all hinges on the synapses in Ross Cullum's brain, and that is just terrifying.